Hi, now we're going to look at how we go about simplifying intricate single fractions. The best way to do this is to look at some examples. Simplify the following: 24x squared plus 8x over 3x squared plus x. Now, one of the most important rules when working with single fractions is you cannot cancel if there's a plus or minus sign between the terms. Here we have a plus sign, and there we have a plus sign, which means we cannot cancel out in this form. To tackle a fraction like this, we first need to factorize the numerator and the denominator. So let's do this now. Let's put in an equal sign. In the numerator, we have got 24x squared plus 8x. Both 24 and 8 are divisible by 8, so we can take that out as a common factor. Here we have x squared and x, so we can take out x as a common factor. Let's open our bracket. 24 divided by 8 is 3. X squared divided by x is x. Plus 8x divided by 8x is 1. Let's close our bracket. Now we look at our denominator. Here we have 3x squared plus x. X is in both terms, so we can take it out as a common factor. Open the bracket. 3x squared divided by x is 3x. Put in our plus sign. X divided by x is 1. The rule for fractions states that if we have a common bracket in the numerator and the denominator, they will cancel out regardless of whether or not there are signs within the bracket. Here we have the bracket 3x plus 1, and here we have the bracket 3x plus 1. 1 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. So we can cancel these brackets out, and we're left with 8x over x. Now we have 8x over x. They are single terms. In the numerator and the denominator, we both have x values. So these cancel out, and we're left with 8 over 1, which is simply 8. Let's do another example. Simplify the following: x squared minus 8x plus 12 over x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now, both the numerator and the denominator contain quadratic equations, so we have to factorize both top and bottom before we can cancel. Let's start by putting in our big X. I want to focus on the equation in the numerator up here. X squared minus 8x plus 12. The coefficient of x squared is 1. 1 multiplied by 12 is 12. So let's put 12 in over here. The coefficient of our x term is negative 8. 12 is positive, but 8 is negative. This means we need to find two factors of 12 that are both negative. 12 divided by negative 1 is negative 12. Negative 1 minus 12 gives us negative 13. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 2 minus 6 gives us negative 8. It's the value we've been looking for. So over here I can put in negative 2, and on this side negative 6. The coefficient of our squared term is 1, so we say negative 2 over 1 and negative 6 over 1. And now we can fill in the brackets for this equation up here, and we get x minus 2 and x minus 6. Now let's factorize this equation over here. Let's tidy up our x a little bit. Once again, 1 is the coefficient of the x squared term, and we have a constant of 8. 1 multiplied by 8 is 8, and the coefficient of our x term is negative 6. 8 is positive, but 6 is negative. So we need to find two factors of 8 that are both negative. 8 divided by negative 1 gives us negative 8. Negative 1 minus 8 is negative 9. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 2 minus 4 gives us negative 6, the value we've been looking for. So we know our factors are negative 2 and negative 4. The coefficient of the squared term is 1, so we get negative 2 over 1 and negative 4 over 1. Now we can fill in our brackets for this equation over here. And we get x minus 2, x minus 4. Now we have got a fraction that only contains brackets, which means that now we can cancel. Here we have x minus 2 and x minus 2. So we can cancel out these two. And we're left with x minus 6 over x minus 4. Both numerator and denominator may include x values, but the terms are separated by signs, so we cannot simplify any further. And this is now our final answer. Let's do another example. Simplify the following. Y cubed plus y to the power of 4 over y squared plus 2y plus 1. Now in this case, the values in the denominator give us a quadratic equation. So I want to start by factorizing this first. So I'm going to put in my line for the fraction. We have y squared plus 2y plus 1. 1 is our constant. Its only factors are itself. So we're going to have y plus 1 and y plus 1 again. Now, in order to simplify this, we need to find a common factor for the numerator that leaves us with a bracket of y plus 1. Here we have y cubed and y to the power of 4. But if we factorize this as it is, we'll end up with 1 plus y, which is not what we want. But remember that 1 plus 2 is equal to 2 plus 1. So to make it easier, I'm going to swap these values around and say y to the power of 4 plus y to the power of 3. Now I can simplify. Y is an exponent of 4 and then an exponent of 3. 3 is the lower exponent, so I can take that out as a common factor. Y to the power of 3, open my bracket. 4 minus 3 is 1, so I'm left with y to the power of 1, which is simply y. Y cubed divided by y cubed is 1. Now I can fill in my brackets for the denominator, y plus 1 and y plus 1 again. Now I have a bracket of y plus 1 in the numerator and 2 in the denominator. And in this case, I can cancel the bracket in the numerator with 1 bracket in the denominator. I'm going to cancel it with this one over here, but it's entirely up to you because they're exactly the same. And we are left with y cubed over y plus 1. Let's do another example. Simplify the following. 3x squared minus 10x minus 8 over 3x squared minus 14x plus 8. Now, the biggest mistake any student can make is to see that we have got 3x squared and 3x squared and 8 and 8 and want to cancel. Remember that you cannot cancel any values if you've got signs within the fraction. We have got minus signs in the numerator and the denominator, so we know that we have to factorize first. These are both quadratics, so let's start by putting in our x. Let's start by factorizing the numerator. The coefficient of the squared term is 3, and we have a constant of negative 8. So we say 3 multiplied by negative 8, and we get negative 24. Let's put negative 24 up here. The coefficient of our x term is negative 10. So we put negative 10 down here. 24 is negative, so we know that one factor will be negative. 10 is negative, which means the larger value will be negative. So let's look at the factors of negative 24. Negative 24 divided by 1 gives us negative 24. 1 minus 24 gives us negative 23. 24 divided by 2 gives us negative 12. 2 minus 12 gives us negative 10. These are the values we've been looking for. So we know the factors we are working with are 2 and negative 12. Now the coefficient of the x squared term is 3. So we get 2 over 3 and negative 12 over 3. 2 over 3 is already in its simplest form. We cannot simplify further and we leave it as it is. But negative 12 over 3, both 12 and 3 are divisible by 3. And we get negative 4 over 1. And now we can fill in this equation up here with our brackets. And we get 3x plus 2 and x minus 4. Now let's factorize this quadratic down here. Let's tidy up our x a little bit. The coefficient of the x squared term is 3 and the constant is 8. So we say 3 multiplied by 8, and this time we get positive 24. So over here, I can say 24 up here. The coefficient of our x term is negative 14. 24 is positive and 14 is negative, which means both factors will be negative. Let's look at the factors of 24. 24 divided by negative 1 is negative 24, which gives us negative 1 minus 24 gives us negative 25. 24 divided by negative 2 gives us negative 12. Negative 2 minus 12 gives us negative 14. It's the value over here. So the factors we are looking at are negative 2 and negative 12. The coefficient of the squared term is 3. So we say negative 2 over 3 and negative 12 over 3. Just like before, negative 2 over 3 is in its simplest form. So we can leave it as it is. Now we look at negative 12 over 3. Both are divisible by 3. Simplify, and we get negative 4 over 1. Now we can fill in the brackets in the denominator of the fraction, and we get 3x minus 2 and x minus 4. And now we can simplify. We have a bracket here, x minus 4, and again over here, x minus 4. So these cancel out. Please be careful with these brackets over here. They may both include a 3x, they may both include a 2, but the signs are different. Therefore, the brackets are not the same. So our answer becomes 3x plus 2 in the numerator and 3x minus 2 in the denominator. I want to look at one more example. X squared squared minus y squared squared all over x plus y, x minus y. Now, in the numerator, we have got two terms that are both squares separated by a minus sign. So straight away, we can see we are working with the difference of squares. Now, a lot of students say, okay, well then let's expand these brackets and turn the squares into an exponent of 4. You can do that if you want to, but remember that in a case like this, the square root of x squared squared is simply the x squared within the bracket, and this applies to the y as well. So it's actually easier leaving it as it is. Let's factorize using the difference of squares. Let's open up two brackets. The square root of x squared squared is simply x squared. So we put an x squared over here and an x squared over here. The square root of y squared squared is y squared. So we have a y squared in here and a y squared over here. Let's separate these two with a plus sign and these with a minus. Now we can fill in the denominator of the fraction, x plus y and x minus y. In the numerator, we have x squared plus y squared, and then x squared minus y squared. This bracket here can be factorized further using the difference of squares. Remember that in this bracket, we've got x squared and y squared, but it is separated with a plus sign. So it is not the difference of squares and therefore cannot be factorized further. So in this case, we can say x squared plus y squared, leave it as it is. And now we can factorize this bracket over here. So The square root of x squared is x. Let's put in a second bracket, put another x over here. The square root of y squared is y. Put in a y over here and a y over here. Let's separate these terms with a plus and these with a minus. Now we can fill in our denominator, x plus y and x minus y. Now our fraction only includes brackets, so we can cancel. We have x plus y over here and x plus y over here, so we can cancel these out. Then we have x minus y and x minus y, so these cancel as well. And we are left with x squared plus y squared. They are separated by a plus sign, so we cannot factorize further, and this is our final answer. Please look at more examples like this in upcoming videos.